Hello class, and welcome to this Final Fantasy I walkthrough right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Brigands, and gotta say that feels good to say. This is one of those games that when we first started Video Games 101 back when it was on Let's Play with Brigands, and even when I started Let's Play with Brigands over a decade ago now, this was one of those games that I knew that this channel was for, essentially. This is what I wanted to get into. Games like this, one of my favorites of all time. In terms of difficulty, I'm going to give Final Fantasy the original a 6 out of 10, which equates to biting down and then throwing your controller across the room on the frustration scale. Typically after you lose to a boss at the end of a very long dungeon, it can be very frustrating, but fear not, we have all the answers for you over the course of this class. Our longest class ever. I think we're going to split this one up into 2 different parts. We'll also have the full 4-hour playthrough of the game. That's pretty much as quickly as you can play through this game, but we're going to give you the full 100% experience. We have information on all the items, the spells, the bosses, even some of the items for the character types we're not even going to be using. So rest assured, this is the full Final Fantasy I walkthrough right here on Video Games 101. And as it's such a long one, let's run the intro and get into, something I've been very much looking forward to for a long time. We'll see you on the other side. Alright, as we start a new game, the first thing we want to do is up that response rate. 1 is awful slow. You'll get very bored watching the messages go slowly. I recommend at least a 6, which is what we'll go with. And let's just take a quick peek at the different character types. Now, you have the fighter, the thief, the black belt, the red mage, and then the white mage and the black mage. We're going to go for a kind of the traditional party. The fighter, the black belt, the white mage, and the black mage. And of course, you know what all these names are going to be, as I name them after myself and the TAs. We'll talk more about the character types we do take as we get into the game, but I'll mention the 2 we're not taking. First is the thief. Their one skill seems to be being able to run away from battles, which is a great skill, but otherwise they're not that useful, so we're gonna skip them. And then the red mage is a nice blend of offensive and supportive spells, and also you get some attack power out of them, but I'd rather have the full white mage and the full black mage so we can see the full complement of spells in this game as we take a look at the controls for Final Fantasy. Pretty straightforward. We do pretty much everything with A, go back with B, change our order with select, and get into this menu here with start. As we take a look now at the Briggs notes for Final Fantasy in this Final Fantasy I walkthrough. First, nowhere to go. We got you covered. The fastest route in every dungeon, the order of places you need to go in the game in general. Number 2, know what to buy, the best items and magic. Blaze has you covered and then some. 3, stock up on potions, we'll talk about that. And lastly, know the fastest grind spots to stay ahead of the curve in this game. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But first, Blaze has your complete shopping list for this first town in Conaria. Alright, my first town guide, Conaria, not to be confused with Corneria from Star Fox. Note that the order in which I have these things left to right or top to bottom is the order I recommend you buying them. So if you don't have the money, then prioritize the spells to the left and the items top to bottom. So first, the spells you should get for your white mage or red mage is Cure and Harm, in that order. For the black mage, the offensive spells, Fire, Lit, and if you want, you can get Sleep as well. Weapons, I like the rapier for the fighter, thief, and the red mage. The nunchucks for the black belt for a little bit. The iron hammer for the white mage, and then the small knife for the black mage. And then the armor to grab is you want the chain for your fighter or red mage, the wooden armor for the black belt or the thief, and finally the cloth for your wizards. Thank you very much, Blaze. I love that format. He's got the goods on every single town in this game, and you can see even recommendations for the thief and the red mage in different cases. So we got you covered even on the character types that we don't have in the party here. But yeah, generally I recommend as we equip our new wares here. I recommend taking kind of the party that we have laid out here. It's nice to have two offensive, physical-minded characters for the basic attacks, which we have in the fighter and the black belt. You could take two fighters and you might be a little bit more overpowered, but I just like the vibe of the black belt. Blaze just kind of gives me more of the black belt vibe. And then, as I said, when we were doing the character selection, as we leave town and get into our first fight with that classic Final Fantasy Nobuo Uematsu music right there, the score, it's fantastic. Yeah, this music it's stuck with me my whole life. Ever since I was a kid, I knew I knew how special this game was, and yeah, I gotta say it still holds up today. But as I digress, but we got 4 experience points right there. Recommend early on here, we just want to get to about level 2 or 3 in the short term. Gary has all our boss beaters as normal, and he has a level recommendation for, as we pull a Jesus right there, just walk over that water. He has the level recommendations you should have before you fight each boss in this game, as well as all their weaknesses and everything like that. All the TAs really came together for this one. I'm really proud of this walkthrough we put together here for the first Final Fantasy. But yes, to get back, as I digressing there, I like a nice balanced team of, like I said, a couple melee attackers, in this case in the Professor and Blaze, and the Fighter and the Black Belt, and then a support magic user in Gary with the white magic spells, curatives, and kind of wards against, you know, certain magics and things like that. We're gonna head into the Temple of Fiends here just to do a bit more grinding and get some more items. Just don't go too deep in if you're low on health. We're certainly not going to try to take on the first boss here in Garland, but I just want to try to get some of the items that are here. And speaking of items, let's get more information on some of the items we're going to be finding and we can purchase with Blaze. Alright, let's talk about the basic things you can purchase for healing, curing yourself, status ailments in the different towns, or you'll find them here in the original Final Fantasy, an absolute classic. First we have heal potions, regains 30 HP, and you might be thinking, Blaze, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, especially later in the game. I recommend, especially later in the game, stocking up on 99 of these. You're curing White Mage, White Wizard, Red Mage, Red Wizard, whatever you got to cure you guys in battle. It's not going to be enough. You're not going to have enough. So, have 99 of these. It's very time consuming to use them, but you really would think they would add in a more powerful healing item at some point later in the game, but no, we always just max out at 30 with the healing potion, but there you go. In many ways, my item of the game, strange as that sounds. Next we have Pure, cures poison. If you're familiar with a Final Fantasy game or the universe, you probably knew that. Soft, cures petrification, the stone effect on one of your characters. And then the tent restores some of your HP and saves your game. The cabin a bit more. And then the house restores all HP and MP and saves the game. Don't ask me where they're carrying these things around in their pants, but there you go. I guess that's why it's a fantasy. One of those mysteries of the universe. Thank you very much, Blaze. Yeah, the house, the cabin, the tent, even the... Okay, a tent, I guess I could see that, but a cabin and a house. Alright. So we go up against these creeps. Using that fire spell. Doing good damage, but yeah, they have a decent amount of health here. So the Black Belt character is kind of weak in the early stages. We have a couple weapons for him before he reaches around level 6 or 7, and then something amazing happens around that point for the Black Belt, one of the more unique characters. At that point, no weapon is going to be as powerful as his bare fists, and from that point on, he just becomes more and more powerful to the point where he could be your most formidable fighter. I know you can get some pretty special weapons for your fighter in the Professor, but yeah, just going without any weaponry is the Black Belt, and he does good work, so especially later on when he's getting multiple hits in. It's quite a sight to behold. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I can understand the argument for maybe not taking a white mage. I know a lot of people prefer a red mage in that case, or just stacking up on potions, which I recommend regardless. I would say the white mage is going to be the weakest link in this party, because they can't do a whole lot of damage. They will have some offensive spells they can use against certain enemies, like the undead zombie we're fighting right here. They'll have the harm spell, which yeah, could do some decent damage against the right enemies, but yeah, for the most part, they're just going to be, you know, kind of putting up walls for us, physical and magical barriers, and nullifying or just kind of mitigating the damage we're taking from certain types of spells. And for some of these bosses, you can't underestimate how important that is, so that's why I do like to have the white mage as part of the party here. A lot of random encounters, obviously, in this game. Back in the days when the Final Fantasies were all about random encounters, before they became, you know, full, just kind of action RPGs and real-time enemies fighting you, and you could just run away and things like that. But there is a certain charm to the you take your turn, my turn now. It's the gentleman's way of doing battle, I suppose. We didn't bat an eyelash back in the day. You know, I don't think I once asked my brother, who was older than me, still is older than me. Funny how that works. I never asked him, well, why are we taking turns? Why is everything so orderly? Why don't we just start hacking them? It just made sense, you know? We just bought into it. I'm going to be speeding this class up every now and then as we get through some of the more mundane things, you know, some of the grindy bits. And I will be skipping ahead in the odd part now and then, as I do a bit of grinding off camera, so you don't have to sit through all that. Here's one such example right here. We jumped ahead, and I think we should be hitting our 3rd level. Professor level 3. You can see our stats go up here. We're gonna head back to town and rest up before we head back to the Temple of Fiends. Get ready to fight Garland. But speaking of these stats that are going up, just a quick kind of overview of these. You got strength, which is how much damage you can do with your physical attacks. You have agility, which in part with your evade helps basically dictate how easily you can dodge the incoming attacks of your enemies. You have intelligence, which I've never really figured out what it may be, more magical damage or magical defense. If someone has more information on that, I would certainly appreciate it. You got vitality, that's relating to your hit points. Luck seems to relate to escaping battle. If you have that thief with you, then the luck is kind of irrelevant, as they can always escape from battle. But again, it's a great skill to have. When your back's up against the wall, you're just trying to survive, get out of the dungeon that you're in, alive into the next town, and you run into a battle. It's nice to have that thief with that pretty much guaranteed escape rate. And that's pretty much it. Those are the big ones. You have Absorb, which is how much damage you can take, or how little damage you take, the higher your absorption rate is, but that kind of relates back to the armor you're wearing. And the heavier armor also has an effect on your agility and evade and things like that. So it's all pretty straightforward. It all makes sense. As we beat up on this gray imp here. Gotta love the limitations of how many characters you could put in some of these places. Our party names are certainly evidence of that, as we were stuck limited to 4 characters each. But anyway, we have our first boss. Let's go to our boss expert, Gary.
It's Scary Gary's Boss Beaters.
Alright, for all these bosses in Final Fantasy, I'm going to give you a level recommendation, show you what they're weak against, what they use, and the strategy I recommend. So first we have Garland. He has 106 HP. We recommend that you are at level 3 at this point. He's a weakness to fire, so use fire with your black or red mage. And yeah, he uses melee attacks. He's not too difficult. If you're level 3, just attack, use fire, you'll take him down.
Thank you very much, Gary. Yes, it's going to be excellent work today. I'm already calling it. But yeah, you can see he's going to let you know which attacks, which moves the bosses use, oftentimes in the order that they use them. If they use certain spells every time, he usually knows the order they're going to be using them. As we rescued the princess, I guess, was that the early storyline here. Have to make sure we put up the trope. Haven't seen that in a while. I haven't used that one in a while. Yeah, we saved the princess. There we go. I don't like when they play the music, like we got something out of it, but now we do have a bridge in the background, so we can access the next area as we leave town and head up north and get the Final Fantasy fanfare music playing. Hopefully we won't have another battle on the way to kind of ruin this. Yeah, let's let this play. So their journey begins. What awaits the four, they do not know. Each holding an orb that 2,000 years ago shined with beauty. There you go. Come, start your journey. Return the light of peace to our world. And you get the credits. Nazir, Gavelli, Fluff has information on some of the people involved with making this game. He's got some really interesting facts today about Square and this game, the making of this game, so stay tuned for that. Again, we're going to be spreading those over the entirety of this 4-hour class, so they will be staggered. As we're going to head north and west a little bit around the river, we go to Matoya's Cave. I mentioned we'd show you the fastest route everywhere in this game. Strictly speaking, you don't need to go to Matoya's Cave just yet, but we're still going to go to Matoya's Cave. Just north and west here. Just follow the river up this way. Not too far off the beaten path here. Just have a couple unfortunate random encounters. Hopefully we don't get poisoned. That's one of the annoying things early on in this game. Before you have a lot of money and you don't really want to be spending it on pure potions to cure yourself. We're not going to get that pure spell for a little while for Gary as well, so. It'd be nice if they, the white mage they gave, there's our poison. If they had given the white mage just, if the curative spells were a bit more powerful, I suppose. Like, the first level cure spell that you get, it doesn't really make a dent, you know, you might as well just use the potions. But, yeah, they sort of fix that in later games. So now we have this annoying sound to listen to as Fluff takes the helm here. How do we read that? Push, B, and select to see the map. As Blaze is now in front. Doesn't look like he has blonde hair from the that screen. I think there is a pier in one of these chests. There it is. Didn't want to have to use it this soon. I was hoping we could maybe just have that in our inventory, but there you go. Had to use that early. Or maybe just give the white mage more cures to work with in general, you know. They only give him 3 or 4 to begin with. I think we max out at 9 level 1 cure spells, but, you know, by the time you have that many, you don't really need that level, but yeah, it's not how you talk to people in this game, gotta go. So, Matoya wants her crystal, the witch. So we'll see if we can't recover that for her. It's actually going to be a little while before we have it, but... So, we found a poison cure in her place. Ooh, ogres are going to slap us around right now. We probably don't want to be tangling with them. Nah, I don't think we could... We could maybe take down one of them before the other one finishes off our party. Hopefully someone can get away. Alright. Give it a go. Let's see how this goes. This is probably going to end poorly, but maybe if these are especially poor-sighted ogres. I believe they're the first enemy in this game that have 100 hit points. First ones to hit that 3-digit marker, and it comes pretty early on, so they're not bad enemies to beat up on for the experience once you have some better spells at the very least. There we go, got one of them. At least that's one less club in our faces. Hopefully they'll prioritize the top 2 characters. They actually, statistically, are more likely to hit the top character, well, the top 2, than the bottom 2. I think it's 50% for the top character, 25% for the player in Blaze's spot, and then Gary and Fluff at the bottom. Those 2 spots, whoever you got there, will split the remaining chance to be hit with 12.5%. So you definitely want to put your beefiest tank-like character, which is always going to be your fighter, in that top slot. And that's why if you have 2 fighters in particular, this game is a little bit easier because they can absorb a lot of damage, and having them in the top 2 slots, they'll take 75% of the hits between the 2 of them. So a little bit of math right there. And we might pull this out. I might die. My character might die, but we might... there we go. Good work, team. Let's not fight any more ogres. Not fight anyone else on the way back, especially ogres. These are one last... could use the cabin, but we'll hang on to that for now. As we head east now to Pravoka. Town right on the water, where we'll be trying to secure a boat. Better transportation than just having to walk around everywhere. There will still be a lot of walking even after we procure ourselves a boat, but I like its Graham, but it looks like Grimp, which is a pretty good name for an enemy, if I'm honest. See how lucky we get. Well, there you go. Sand ogres. Alright, we're just running this time. I know we can get away from these guys. Someone might die, though. Good thing I downed that potion. There you go, Blaze. Getting us out of danger. We're just limping into this next town. But you can see that was a pretty good return, though, from those ogres. Like 130 some experience, I think, and gold. That said, we have a really solid grinding spot coming up here. You will have to gain a few levels probably before you can really use it, because at first, this isn't looking good. This might be the end of the walkthrough before we even get started here. Come on, we need a hero. Someone's got to step up. Alright, Gary's down. Alright, no one stepped up. It's our only choice. We can't win against 4 mad ponies who are a lot faster than us. There you go, Blaze. I feel like Blaze is going to be getting us out of a lot of jams with that black belt speed. Alright, so Gary's dead, and he's still dead here. It's not like we just moved his body to the bottom of the party. Always looked like blood to me. I know it's just the design of the White Mage's outfit there, his robe, but anyway. We got the second town, so let's go back to Blaze for our guide here.
Alright, Pravoka. Spells to get here. A-Lit for the defensive spells. A-Lit, Invis, and Mute in that order. Definitely grab Ice. Probably grab that before anything else if you're an offensive-minded wizard. And Slow if you've got the cash. Weapons, the short sword is good here for the fighter, or the red mage, and the scimitar for the thief. And then the armor to grab, the iron armor for the fighter, the wood shield for the fighter, and gloves, just slap those on everybody for a slight boost.
Good call, thank you very much, Blaze. See, we stopped by Miracle Max's healing hut right there, with the heart above it, to bring back our friend Gary. How we know how to take down the bosses without him, so stay at the inn here and get ready for this next kind of mini boss battle here. Really not difficult. But seeing that we just brought him back from the dead, we'll let Gary explain what we need to do here. So we got the weapon shop down here, and otherwise it's a dead end. Not sure what's going on with all this, a lot of real estate here, a lot of empty buildings. Can't afford any of the good stuff just yet. Once we do our grinding, we'll have plenty of money. Certainly we'll have the levels, but that will be coming up before too long. First things first, though, we do have kind of a mini boss here as we talk to the captain. Get those landlubbers. Doesn't sound good. Gary?
Boss beaters.
Alright, the pirates. Barely worth mentioning. It's basically just another enemy fight. They have 6 HP each. You should be level 3 at the very least at this point. Their weakness is sleep, but you don't need it. All they're gonna do is attack you with melee attacks. You just want to attack them and cast your best offensive spells. Doesn't matter, you'll take them down.
Thank you very much, Gary. Yeah, there's just an awful lot of them. I do like how they swap out the backgrounds, though, depending on where you are. I feel like we're on the open seas here, because we do kind of have that in the background. I remember thinking that was very cool as a kid, but you gotta remember this came out in 1987, you know? What else was coming out in 1987? The Black Bass? Oh, no, I'm sorry, that came out in Japan in 1988. Even less of an excuse, Black Bass. I don't care if they're completely different games, that is the point. I don't know what the point is, but still fighting these two pirates. They look cool, they're just awful weak. Didn't get a lot of experience on the open seas. When Gary's taking you down with a hammer, then you, yeah, you know you're a weak enemy. But decent amount of experience. I love that deal right there. We killed your whole crew, so I guess, you know, what's he gonna do with the ship at this point? There's 4 of us. We're gonna take his ship. Stop off in the inn before you head on out. So now as we get on the ship here, we're gonna head southwest to the next town. Have plenty of sea creatures to fight here on the ocean. There'll be sharks, a lot of sahags. I always want to call them sea hags. Sahags. Lightning obviously works very well on them. And since we're gonna be in a town before too long, might as well burn through all of Fluff's lit spells. Gotta be able to get this done with. Alright, there we go. Alright, see if we get another random encounter before we get to level 4. Good work, Professor. Good work, Blaze. Gary. And did Fluff? Okay, so Fluff's here with us. Every now and then, Gary's here with us. You know, when a character dies, they tend to fall back in the experience running. So that's always a little annoying when you stagger the levels like that. Extra incentive to keep everyone alive as we enter this kingdom and surrounding town here. Arachnids are no, all the spiders in this game are pretty annoying because they have a chance of poisoning you. It's not even the worst thing in the world. It's not especially dangerous. It's just annoying to have to, one, have pure potions and get the spell and everything, just have that stuff on hand. But secondly, it's just annoying having to go into your inventory, pulling that out. There we go, didn't poison me, thankfully. Once again. Fire should work pretty well against him. He's still upright. And let's try some ice. Never understood why ice was on the next level. Just couldn't fit in all the spells, I suppose. Anyway. We made it. We're not poisoned. Let's get our item and spell guide for this town with Blaze.
Alright, Elfland. Spells to get for the curing, the white or red wizard in your party. We have 3 and 4 levels, mind you. Hence the divider there. So Cure 2, definitely pick that up, and Harm, prioritize those for your white mage. And then Fire and Lit 2, certainly for your black mage. And then Pure and Ice 2 for the second tier. And then if you've got money for the others, you can go ahead. Ice is certainly good. Fast is definitely good. And then weapons you should get, the Silver Sword for the fighter and the red mage, the iron nunchucks for the black belt. You probably want to take these off the black belt around level 5 or 6, as his punches are going to start becoming more powerful than any weapon you could put on him. Professor might mention that, but the saber for the thief and the large dagger for the black mage. And then armor, grab that iron shield for the fighter, the wood helmet for the fighter, copper bracelet for everybody, and the cap for everybody. And one more thing to mention, maybe it's not obvious, but the fast makes it so that everyone gets faster. You get more hits in, essentially. I'm not sure why the black mage is the one casting it. Seems like that would be more of a support spell, but just to explain what that does. And then the A fire and the A ice, grab these to nullify the effects or lessen the damage you take from those kind of spells from certain enemies and bosses. But there you go, Elfland in a nutshell.
Thank you very much, Blaze. Yes, so recommend getting to about, I don't know, level 6, something like that. At least having the money to get a level 2 offensive spell. Like we just skipped ahead. We ticked both those boxes. And what I say earlier, about the time you get to level 6 with your black belt, it's time to take off the nunchucks, take off the training wheels, and just let those fists fly. You can see we have our first level 2 spell, which is important because it hits multiple targets. And obviously does a lot more damage too. But there's Erdrick. I think Fluff has a Fluff fact about that a little bit later. But not to get off my train of thought right here. Let's grab Harm 2. This can be useful once we get into the grinding spot, which we're going to cover next. It's nice to have an extra set of offensive spells, or an extra caster of offensive spells in this case. So we'll see how the Fire 2 works for the first time here. 41 damage, 108 damage, and 164 damage. It is random. I mean, it's within a certain, parameter and everything. But yeah, it depends on what they're weak against and strong against, things like that. But certainly, level 2, not too shabby. So the grinding spot is going to take us back past Pravoka. We're going to have to land in that same kind of area, so it's not a big deal if we go through some spells on the way. As we speed things up, trying to get to our grinding spot. It's a shame these guys are strong against the fire, because it's our only multi-target spell that we have at the moment. Gary's got Harm too, but it's not going to do anything against these Sahags. Put him down, there we go. 2 hits for 36 damage, that's not too shabby. Again, you can wait a bit longer before you take the iron nunchucks off of your black belt, but I just like to, let him loose around this point, see what he can do. These Kizokus look Very similar to the pirates we just bested in town. As far as I can tell, these guys don't even have a ship. But, yeah, let's not think too much about it. I guess to be fair, we never see any of the random encounters before they happen on the map. They just pop up and happen, so they might have an invisible ship somewhere, I don't know. Let's finish this last guy off and head back to Pravoka, where we'll hit the inn, get our spells back, that's the main thing. And then I'll show you arguably the best grind spot in the game because it's early on and you can use it for a while. You can get a good, 6, 7, 8 levels out of it. Very good time to stock up on tents, on your healing potions. You're going to want to be able to save when you're at the grind spot because it's not especially close to town. Grab a couple pures and we're on our way. So yeah, if the worst happens, because again, when we're just at level 6 and we're kind of on the weaker end of this grind spot, it's very possible that we're gonna be bested a couple times. So it's nice to have that save spot right there at the edge. And I'd prefer not to fight anyone on the way, but a couple ogres, I'm not gonna turn my nose up at that. Not nearly as good as what we're about to get. I think we're getting 135 experience from each of these ogres, so maybe we'll get about 270 if I'm accurate in that. We'll stick to the single target spells for now, everything that's level 1. But the spot is just east of Pravoka. Just follow the coastline up and then go north here. Gonna cut past and through a couple mountain chains, and then you're just gonna find yourself on this peninsula. And it's only the top 4 squares of that peninsula, right at the very tip, which trigger different enemies than are found on the rest of this entire continent. It's almost like a glitch, like they were, the code had it that, they somehow made their way from the other continent or something, I don't know, maybe they evolved when Pangea broke and they hung out and I don't know. I don't know why I'm trying to dissect it. The point is there are 4 squares up here, which we can just make circles around, essentially, and get into the random encounters. And the enemies are a lot tougher than these ogres that we're fighting along the way, but they pay out a lot more experience, so what did we get from that guy? Oh, we didn't get that much. That's 48, so I misspoke. Alright, so 48. Let's use our first tent here. This will give us a little bit of health back, but again, the main thing is we are saving our game in case we die. I recommend using one of these after every single battle, and we get our first battle right away. Look at this. We upgrade from ogres to giants, just like that. And this is going to be a very tough out. We're going to rely heavily on Fluff's soul level 2 spell at the moment. 90 damage, that's pretty good. See if, alright, down I go. That's fine. Burning through our spells here. I think these guys have over 200 health each, maybe around 250. 240 might be the right number. Just gotta put one of these guys down, give ourselves some breathing room here. There we go, good job, Gary. May have saved our bacon here. And does Fluff have any more spells in the till? He's got the a basic. Oof. This might be a one survivor situation here. Definitely gonna be limping back to Pravoka, but we'll be much richer than we came in with. 19 damage. Remember, we did hit him with the early Fire 2 spells. So we did eat into his health a little bit, but be nice if Blaze could start picking up some of the weight here. Alright then. This is getting alright then. By the skin of our teeth right here. Gary and Fluff, the magic users, getting it done. Look at that. 879 experience points. Alright, granted, we're splitting this between two characters, but still, 400 some would have been for all of our characters. And what did we get? 1,700 gold, something like that? A lot of money, so we can now head back to Elfland. We can buy more spells, more offensive-minded spells, and then, you know, just survive, basically. And you got yourself some levels. We jumped ahead, as you can see right here. I recommend aiming for about level 12 at this point. And you can see we have 4 instances of Fire 2 at this point. We have a whole lot of gold, 76,000 gold to be precise. I think our first purchase ought to be something that Blaze recommended. The Silver Sword is what I have my eye on. This is a major upgrade. We're not going to get anything better for quite a while for our fighter character. See, we get a lot more health, obviously, at level 12. But, yeah, it's just... I prefer that going somewhere where I know, you know, I know what the enemies are going to be, I know who to expect. It's not just giants. There's some trolls and other very powerful enemies, but, the point is that, you know, it's nice to be outside so you can use your tents after every battle, and then just kind of focus on the objectives when we go into the inner dungeon type areas that we have coming up. And let's see, is there anything we want to grab for Gary? Obviously, cure level 2. We got money for everything at this point, so go with a fire. Heal is kind of curious. You would think it's just like, you know, the heal potion, except it's a spell that affects everyone in the party. It gives them all back a inconsequential amount of health, is the best way of putting it. So I don't like to waste my money on that. It's less than a cure potion gets you back, essentially, so... And you can only use it in battle when, you know, you're probably getting hit for more damage than that anyway, so... Just, last minute defensive items here. It's nice when everything you buy doesn't clean you out, you know? Having a nice nest egg after all of that grinding. And the good news is we should be good for a while. I think that was about 20 to 30 minutes of grinding. If it goes well. If you die, obviously it's going to be more, but once you get a nice groove and you get some luck as well, hit them with your offensive magic spells and just do some good melee damage. It gets easier, obviously, the higher your level becomes. Especially hard when you first get there at level 6 or 7, whichever level you show up to that spot at, but you'll get there. And we should be good for the next few dungeons at the very least. Maybe the volcano, but I don't want to speak too soon. That's a ways off. There will certainly be some battles on the way, just, you know, we're not going to go out of our way to explore more. We're just going to grab the important things, so we're going to be avoiding some battles that way. You can also just run more when you're in the dungeons once you've already gotten all your levels out of the way, and you can preserve all your healing potions and spells and everything for the later parts of the dungeon when you get to the boss and things like that. Looking pretty good right now. Blaze is going to mention there is a quirk about the black belt and how their absorption rate, their defense essentially works. He'll talk about that a little bit later, but yeah, for right now we do have some defensive things on him as well as everyone else. In the same town, how convenient, we can get our level 4 spells here. We're halfway through the game's spells already, and we're not even a quarter of the way through the game. Grab some level 4 white magic spells as well while we're here. Probably never use that spell, but the mute, but can't recall too many instances of being muted by the enemies, by being silenced, I guess. And good idea to get a couple softs. This protects you from stone, or doesn't protect you, but it cures stone. Grab a couple houses. Again, I don't know where we're putting these things, but very nice to use in the field. Tops off your magic as well, which the same can't be said for the tent or the cabin, so if you've got the money, it's certainly worth the price. And it just gets monotonous. You miss those later games when you can, tell them specifically how much of each potion you want. It's nice when heal's at the top, because that's the only one to ever buy the guy out. Essentially, we will grab a couple softs. I say buy out, he has an unlimited supply back there, which a lot of nerve charging that price, considering he can print those healing potions back there, but not gonna tell the man how to run his business. Alright, so we're in pretty good shape now, so we can continue on with our adventure. Heading west this time from Elfland. Just gonna be running from all these battles, especially around here, which would just be a waste of our time at this point. After we've been thrown down with giants and trolls and much more formidable and lucrative enemies, there's no reason to waste your time on a pack of wolves. Sometimes it's fun to beat up on a single ogre, though I'm not gonna lie, it's nice to have the tables turned. Remember when we had just left Conaria and we were level 3 and, all green and thinking we were gonna save the world, and then a couple ogres almost beat the tar out of us. Almost killed us. I think they did kill Gary, actually. Temporarily. Sometimes it's like, what's faster, running or just killing, the 1 or 2 enemies, so it's a judgment call. Continuing, we're gonna break down to the south now. A couple geists. Got the ghouls, got the geists. A lot of undead creatures in this game. Paralysis is not a big deal in this game, thankfully. It wears off after the battle. It actually wears off during the battle if you last long enough. We can recover from it. They're getting a lot of hits on us, but they're not doing very much with it. The only thing which is annoying, sometimes a little bit later you run into packs of wizards and spellcasters who will hit you, or different enemies that can stun you, and if there's a whole mess of them, then they can tie up your whole party and make it difficult for you to escape. So one of the cheaper ways to lose is we use our cabin outside here. And again, showing you the fastest route here in the Marsh Cave. We're going to be heading south after we get out of this battle, but if you go north, It leads you to a room with, I think, what it's got? It's got some gold. Not enough to care about. It's got a dagger and a short sword. Just things we don't really care about. Things we could have bought in that last town, which we didn't because they're not worth our time. Fluff is poison. Let's give him some pure right there. And continue on down to the south here. To the right is a dead end, so just ignore that. Some undead bone. The most original name there. Bone. What do we call our skeleton enemies? Bone. Done. Pay me. There are 3 levels to this dungeon here. 3 different areas. There's some chests in the buildings to the south, but I believe they're all empty, so don't waste your time there. I was hoping you wouldn't get the first turn there, but that's fine. Curious how much damage we're going to be doing. It's not going to hurt those 2 creatures on the crawls. And probably Blaze is about, yep, Blaze is going to get us out of here, so bit of a waste there, but at least we can see Harm 2 in action. But we do want to follow these columns around close and then go to this southeastern building just to cut right through and catch another ladder to the bottom floor here, where there are a number of chests actually, some of which are inaccessible to us right now. We're going to get a mystic key at some point, and that's what we need to unlock some of the locked doors on this floor here, pretty much on the bottom row. There are some things we can get here. We got iron armor here, which I think we are already rocking, so we just have an extra set. Could have held off on that, but again, we have plenty of money, so not a big deal. There's a couple chests in this one. There's a house in this one. There's nothing in the other chest, so we'll ignore that and proceed on to the building directly south of this. This is the last one that we care about. And we actually have another boss coming up here, so let's throw it back to Gary.
Boss beaters.
Right, the wizards. Again, I'm not sure they qualify as a boss. Later on, we're going to see them as a regular enemy. At this point, you should be level 10. They have 84 HP and a weakness to lit. They use melee attacks, which is the biggest head scratcher in this game, considering they are wizards, but the strategy, just use lit 2, attack, take them down.
Yeah, that is a little odd. I guess the cane or the staff, it's just an aesthetic thing. A look they're cultivating. Anyway, grab yourself the crown, which we will need for a part coming up. And now we're just gonna basically backtrack on out of here. There's the only other chests we can access right now without the Mystic Key contain just inconsequential amounts of money. So we're gonna skip those and just fast track back northwest the exact same way we came in. And while we're headed out of here right now, let's turn it over to Fluff for the first of a few fun facts about Final Fantasy and Square in general, and well, I'll leave it up to Fluff. Welcome in, Fluff. What have you got for us?
We talked a bit about this during our class on Square's Rad Racer, but Square wasn't doing well financially in the mid-80s. After a series of disappointing releases for the Japanese Famicom system, and even needing to downsize their offices to a more affordable part of Tokyo, Square Company founder Masafumi Miyamoto asked the company's 4 directors for game proposals, with the idea being of having the staff vote on the best idea. Final Fantasy director Hironobu Sakaguchi pitched an RPG idea. Sakaguchi actually had been interested in creating an RPG for some time, But it wasn't until the recent success of rival game company Enix's Dragon Quest in 1986 that he figured he could finally get permission. A skeptical Miyamoto gave the green light on the condition that the game only had a 5-person team. Sakaguchi led the development team and brought in designers Hiromichi Tanaka, Akitoshi Kawazu, Kyoichi Ishii, along with composer Nobuo Uematsu. While production started out slowly, Sakaguchi eventually got help from another team at Square, and the production was completed after 10 months. Thankfully, Sakaguchi was able to convince Miyamoto to double the initial order to 400,000 units, considering the game went on to become a big success in Japan after its release on December 18, 1987, selling over 400,000 copies. The game became an even greater success when it was released in North America 2 years later, selling an additional 700,000 copies.
It's a good thing they listened to him. Thank you very much, Fluff. Bring you back in a little bit to tell us more. Alright, so at this point you can head back to town, or if you have a cabin, or a house better said, to top off your magic spells, and you can just use that. You don't have to go back to town. We're just gonna keep heading up north here. Just trying to avoid that poison. There we go. Again, it's just annoying. It's not a problem, it's just annoying. We're here in Astos' castle. So if we'd come here first, they would have charged us with getting the crown back for them. And that's what we did. Pro tip here, by the way, I recommend swapping out your party order at this point, putting your least valuable character at the top. Sorry, Gary. It's just a game. It's not a reflection on our thoughts on you as a TA. You're doing a bang-up job. It just happens that Astos has a nasty spell which he's going to target your top character with. More like, well, I'll let Gary explain it. Gary?
Boss beaters.
Astos. He has 168 HP. We recommend that you're level 10 before you take him on. He has a weakness to lightning. He uses a whole mess of spells, typically in this order, give or take. Rub, slow 2, a lot of status stuff early on. Fast, fire, fast for himself, obviously. He's not helping you out there. Fire 2, lit 2, all that stuff. The rub will instantly kill someone. There's a much better chance that he's going to hit the top guy in your group, a 50% chance. So you want to move your worst character to the top before you start this battle. Your most expendable character, I should say. Otherwise, cast fast on your best attackers, cast lit, and just start attacking him. You'll take him down.
Thanks, Gary. And if that's not karma at work, I don't know what is. I moved Gary out of that spot, put myself there thinking I would be safe, and I'm the one who got rubbed out. So, there you go. It is what it is. It's expected. I always kind of like the fighter's death pose on the ground, like I don't know, even in death he looks cool. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. If you explore Astos' castle, if you go around the top and kind of counterclockwise, you'll find an area with some chests, but again, you need the Mystic Key to unlock it, which we still don't have, so we're about to get it. But yeah, once you have the Mystic Key, you can unlock that, and it's got like a power staff, iron gauntlet, something else, but yeah, not a big deal. I think a weapon for the thief. So if you want to backtrack and grab that stuff, you can do that, but yeah, we're not going to. Not really worth it to go out of our way, as Fluff is poison now. We got a dead guy, we got a poison guy. This is rough. We need some care back in Elfland. Get patched up here. Love that noise. First things first, bring me back from the dead. And who's poisoned right now? Alright, Fluff is poisoned, so now let's reorder. My OCD starts to take hold if I don't have things in the Professor Blaze, Gary Fluff order. It's just how it's supposed to go. Top yourself off at the inn at this point. Alright, so we don't need to stop in at the castle right now, but being that we're here, let's check in on the sleeping prince. They're going to tell us that he needs a special herb to awaken him. Only herb can wake him. Yeah, we'll get herb. Shout out to the Claymation Christmas special, by the way. It's a deep reference, but I think anyone who played this game in the early 90s, it's one they might appreciate, might remember. So we're going to speed things up here, try to get away from these ogres, and we're going to head back north on our ship. There's actually a little shortcut we can take this time, actually. Instead of docking at the normal spot right there, we can pass under the bridge that they constructed for us. So go back around Conaria, and get a little dock point right there. And this area should look familiar as we head back to Matoya's cave with her crystal ball this time. And hopefully she'll give us something nice in exchange. Because, you know, we only do things for something in return. There you go. Alright, so we have what we need now. It's a fetch quest, an annoying one to go here and back, but there you go. And we can put him down right quick. Look at that one punch. Blaze is coming along nicely at this point. Level 12, he starts to, or 13 thereabouts, starts to get into a very nice groove. And just head back under the bridge the way we came in. That is an odd eye. Or those Kizokus. Let's ignore them. Head back to Elfland. Remember when I was a kid not knowing about that sweet grinding spot to the east, I should say, of Pravoka, and I would grind back there in the fields like we did for a hot minute, just putting down ogre after ogre, hoping I would run into ogres. Sometimes it would be wolves. Took forever. Here we go. And the prince is awake now, and he gives us the mystic key. He was passed out. Can we just kind of grab that? I know that attendant's right there, but let's see if this key works right now before we leave the building. Head around back here. I always forget how to get into this building. It's a little confusing. If you don't want to like leave the property, it'll kick you outside. But I think if we hug, or nah, that kicked us out. Let's try, yeah, there we go. Just hug to the right. Stick to the wall, otherwise you'll leave and get kicked back out to the overworld map. We've got a silver hammer. Resisting making a Beatles reference there, but we'll give this to Gary. That's an upgrade over the iron hammer for sure. So now he'll do like 12 damage rather than the 9 he was doing before. He was not known for his offensive prowess, but that's fine. And yeah, he cannot use that. It's always weird how it's one or the other. I get we only have so many slots, but anyway. Fast forward now. And it's time to go to the final place that we have access to at the moment. We haven't been there yet. The Dwarf Cave. This time we're gonna head west of Conaria on the open sea. First, we can pop off here and use our Mystic Key. This isn't especially out of our way. I'm not gonna backtrack to Astos' place, but we want to get back to where this wise man is hanging out. Again, I don't know why they make these places so difficult to navigate. So we gotta go around this way. And to the right, and there we go. Alright, finally. So we get their treasure now. This should still be semi-relevant, considering we just gained access to it. Got the nondescript saber. Got the silver dagger. Got the iron staff. Iron shield. TNT, which we need before we stop off at the Dwarf Cave. And the iron armor. Again, that's our third set that we've gotten, bought or found. So the saber that we picked up, that's good for the thief. Does 13 damage. Nothing especially great. Certainly doesn't touch our silver sword, which does 23, so we're going to leave that on us. The red mage can use that as well, but yeah, a lot of the stuff can be interchangeably used by the thief and the red mage. Fighter as well, but again, I just assume use the silver sword at this point, which the thief can't even use. I think the upgraded version of the thief can use that. Spoiler alert, all of our characters are going to go through a transformation where our classes are upgraded. Most of them make sense, you know, fighter becomes the knight. Okay, I buy that. Black belt becomes the master, the nondescript master, and the mages become wizards. The one thing that always had me scratching my head was the thief turns into a ninja. That just seems like an entire career change, you know, that's not even the same vicinity. Unless ninjas were known for their thievery. I don't know, maybe the thief grows a conscience or something and just decides, you know? I don't know, maybe just figures ninjas are sneaky, right? They blend in with the shadows and things like that. I don't need to talk about this anymore, but we're about to head into the Dwarf Cave. Again, make sure you have that TNT we got at Conaria Castle before you head here. It will be necessary to gain access to the next area, with a little help from our dwarven friends. Grab a couple things from the chest here, just got some cash essentially. There we go. A little bit of scratch. There's a whole bunch of items down to the south. Hooray, I like that guy's attitude. Good vibes. This guy will make us I guess the second best sword in the game once we get him the adamant, so be on the lookout for that. If we go all the way down here, this guy, I don't know, he doesn't gel with the other dwarves or something. He's the one we need to give the TNT to, though. There we go. He's gonna create the Panama Canal, essentially, so we can access the western part of the map now. Use the Mystic Key to open this door to get yourself some decent loot. The Dragon Sword, which sounds really cool, not that good. Some of the swords were meant to be especially effective against, you know, certain enemy types, like the Dragon Sword, great against dragons, but some glitch and it didn't take, essentially. So it sounds really cool once again, but it's yeah, it's less damage than the Silver Sword, if you can believe such a thing. Just seems wrong, right? The Dragon Sword, it seems like one of the final weapons that you get. Looks cool, but yeah, it's not worth the damage drop off. I think it's 23 to 19, so we'll take that extra 4. Does look cool though. And again, the thief and the red mage can also use that sword. And that would be an upgrade for the thief over the saber, certainly. But for our purposes, doesn't really matter. So we head back outside, back to our ship, and we'll find a cutaway in the land that wasn't there before. We didn't check beforehand, but just trust me. We can go somewhere we couldn't now, so go back to our ship. So we're a little poisoned at this point. Not a big deal. We can cure up now if that sound's getting annoying. Use our fancy pure spell. More ogres. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you.